This weekend on Saturday, Reinier will be taking on Brendan Allen in Vancouver, Canada. And guys, we're going to be breaking down the entire card today. Yeah! Yeah! Anyways, let's go ahead and get right into these little picks and preview for UFC Fight Night Vancouver. I thought long and hard about this fight, to tell you the truth. And man, I'm going to take Melissa Croden because she's 5'9", and Lisboa is 5'7". So, this does not count on my record. Moving on to an underrated fight, we have Azamat Bekoyev taking on Yusiri Balguri, however you say his name. Chama, yes. Yusiri is the kickboxer that trains with Alex Pereira. Azamat Bekoyev, a goofy guy on Twitter. Also, I think he's a good fighter, and I'm going to be taking Azamat in this matchup. I just cannot trust Belgui's grappling. And Bekoyev is a strong pressure grappler, or he can be at least, and he's decent on the feet, keeps a nice high tight guard. I think it's going to be hard for Belgui to land solid strikes and do a lot of damage to Bekoyev. And I think Bekoyev himself has a decent amount of power. It does scare me, the reach and length of Belguri, but I just think he is probably going to be a fish out of water when this fight goes to the ground, and I think Bekoyev, 95% chance he will get him to the ground. He has a good submission game as well, and like I said, I just think Yusri is going to be a fish out of water there. So even though I'm kind of rooting for Yusri, I like Bekoyev though too, but I just think he's more well-rounded, and I think at middleweight, I think it's going to be hard with Belguri not having a grappling background whatsoever for him to be able to level that up quick enough for him to be able to beat guys like Bekoyev. But, maybe Glover and Polinio Cruz, the Chama crew, did a little magic with him, and hey, maybe Belgui is going to be able to hold his own on the ground. But I just don't see that happening. So give me Bekoyev. Give me Bekoyev by third round finish. Third round submission. Yes, at some point, I think he's going to get him to the ground and sub him. I think his pressure will be too much. Let's go ahead and move on to another fight I just thought so long about. I'm going to take Ravina Oliveira because she has one more win and the same amount as losses as Stephanie Luciano. Yes, that's the pick, guys. Moving on. Drew Dober, Kyle Prepolek. Drew Dober, always an interesting guy to watch fight. I'm going Dober, and I know he has lost a lot recently, but a guy in Prepolek who was cut a long time ago from the UFC steps up on short notice to take on Benoit Saint Denis at UFC 317, I believe that was. JDM taking on Bilal Muhammad. That's the only reason he's getting this fight, and when I watch Prepolek fight, he seems somewhat tough and scrappy, but he just doesn't seem that good at anything, really. And I think Dober on the feet, he's at least athletic. Oh, my nose itches. He's at least very athletic and pretty powerful. He's very tough as well. And I think Dober's better. You watch the two of those guys fight, and you go, yeah, Dober would beat Prepolek. And it's really that simple to me. I mean, Dober's fought a lot stiffer competition than Prepolek. Prepolek couldn't really hang in the UFC, and he's been fighting on the regional scene until he took the short notice Benoit fight. So I'm going to take Drew Dober to finish Kyle Prepolek in the first round, actually. I think he's going to steamroll him. I don't think Prepolek has really anything to offer. And I think this is a very favorable matchup for Dober. Oh, I keep scrolling down. Moving on to Danny Barlow, taking off to Jordan Santos. I think Danny Barlow is still somewhat of an interesting prospect, and I will be taking him to defeat DeJordan Santos because DeJordan Santos lost to Ozzy Diaz. his last fight. And I know Danny Barlow just recently got knocked out by Sam Patterson, but Sam Patterson's been tearing the fellas up, man. I think he's on like a 4-fight win streak, all finishes right now. He's finally living up to that expectation he had when he first entered the UFC as a lightweight, using that skill from the lighter weight class to move up to welterweight and beat up some guys. And Danny Barlow here moving up to middleweight from welterweight. I think he's going to be a lot quicker than Santos. I think he's just going to be slicker on the feet in general. And I think Santos, he fights with a lot of confidence, but he's not that good. Leaves himself very vulnerable on the feet. And I think Barlow still has a good amount of power on the feet. He mixes up the combinations well. And I like Danny Barlow. I think Santos is pretty tough, though. I like Danny Barlow by decision. 30-27, honestly. I think DeJordan is not good at all. Has horrible fundamental defense on the feet. And I think Barlow has some slick weapons, a lot more technical than Santos on the feet. Give me Danny Barlow by decision. Moving on to Bruno Silva and Hung Seung Park. I'm going to be taking Park in this fight. I think he has way more weapons than Bruno Silva. And I think he has a lot more avenues to go in to win this fight and to possibly finish this fight. I know Bruno Silva is pretty powerful for lightweight, but I think Hung Seung Park is as well. He has a nice thump on his shots. Bruno Silva, defensively wise, I think he leaves his chin out in the open way too much. I think Park is very well-rounded for the flyweight division. He wasn't ready for Tatsuro Taira, for sure. Bruno Silva was never going to beat Joshua Van. And like I said, I just think Silva leaves himself open way too much on the feet. I think Hyung Sung can catch him possibly. Get this fight to the mat as well. Hyung Sung Park is very good on the mat offensively, basic wrestling-wise, especially when he's pressuring his opponent. Silva does not have the best takedown defense. And I also think Park is quicker and has a much better pace and gas tank compared to Silva. So I like Park putting the pace on Bruno Silva and getting a second round TKO finish. That's my prediction. Moving on to Charles Jourdain versus one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, one of the most underrated fighters in UFC history, Dangerous Davy Grant. Davy Grant. It makes me think of Davy Jones' locker. Davy Jones' locker. Anyway. And I love Davy Grant in this fight. I've never thought Charles Jourdain is that good. He has some skill in his game, but I never thought he was that good. And I think Davy Grant's way more slick. Even though Charles Jourdain has a decent bag, a decent MMA bag, But I think Davy Grant has a better one. I think he has way more combinations to throw at you. I think he is going to be much stronger on the ground, especially this fight at 135. Jourdain has not looked too comfortable since moving down, in my opinion. And he's a soy boy. He's just a soy boy, Charles Jourdain. And Davy Grant, the old grizzled, jizzled freaking veteran of this game, I think he's just going to land a lot more strikes on the feet. He's going to throw a lot of volume at Jourdain. And Davy Grant's super durable. And I don't think Jourdain has any power at bantamweight. And I think Grant will weather anything that Jourdain throws at him. And I think even if Jourdain gets off a lot of volume and lands good strikes, I'll still take Davy Grant, because if it's that type of fight, Davy Grant's just going to outdo Jourdain. He has way more weapons, super durable, and even on the ground, if Charles has some slick submission threats as well, but Davy Grant's a strong grappler. He has some stuff in the tool bag, that gets him out of sticky situations on the ground. He's just been doing this for a long time, super underrated. And I think no matter where this fight goes, I think Davy Grant is just going to get the better of it in every situation. He has way more thump with those hands of his compared to Jourdain. And I think Jourdain has really hardly any chance of finishing him, and I like Davy Grant to finish him late in the third round. On the feet, I think this could be a little bit of a bloody mess of a fight. I'm excited for this fight. I love watching Davy Grant go at it. So give me Davy Grant, late third round finish. Moving on to Matt Frevola and Kyle Nelson. Kind of a weird fight. I I don't get Kyle Nelson. I think he sucks. Honestly, I think he's really bad. So I'm taking Matt Frivola. I know Frivola doesn't have the best chin in the world, but I wouldn't worry too much about that with Kyle Nelson. He's not dangerous whatsoever. I think he's just kind of lasted in the UFC because he has a decent amount of fights, kind of a vet-ish, scrappy, sort of tough, and I think he's just kind of been able to hang around, you know what I mean? And what was I going to say? He has no power in his shots. So I think even when Frivola throws, and even if he leaves himself vulnerable, I don't think Nelson has anything to throw back that's really going to threaten Frivola. And I think he's pretty fundamentally sound on the feet with his boxing at this level, at this like range of type of guys he would fight, compared to a guy like Kyle Nelson. I like his boxing. And I think also Matt Frivola could put a heavy pressure wrestling pace on him if he decides to do so. I think Nelson doesn't have the best gas tank, pretty slow, and I think if Frivola could put pressure on him and just get him on the back foot in general, I think Kyle Nelson's going to have a hard time in this fight. And I think Kyle Nelson leaves his chin open a lot after the first round. If you've seen Kyle Nelson fight, you notice after the first round his hands drop a lot. So I'm going to take Matt Frivola, second round TKO, either on the feet or ground and pound. Ground and pound, baby! Yes, sir. Let's go to the next fight. Cody Gibson versus Ariki Long, I believe is how you say his name. The Asian. No way. Anyways, I like Cody Gibson. I used to kind of hate on Cody Gibson. I don't know why. I've had a bit of a vendetta on him. But he's like a vet of the game. He has 33 I couldn't do math there for a second. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm tired. Anyways, he has a lot of fights. And he has that vet of the MMA game bag of tricks, especially on the ground. Even though he's kind of weak when he is getting the submission pressure put on him, I think Gibson also has a very good submission threat on the ground. And Ariki Long never has success when the fight goes to the ground. I know he's pretty quick and explosive on the feet, but I think Gibson can land some, if he finds his range, he can 1-2 you to death a little bit. He really can. He's long and lanky for the division. And I think he's good enough. He has pretty decent defense, striking-wise. So I think he can do enough to defend himself properly on the feet. And I think he's going to find a way to get to the ground. And I'm going to take Cody Gibson by first-round submission. I think Ariki Long is going to come out crazy. And I like to see Cody Gibson get it to the ground late in the first round, find a submission. I think he's good enough to do that against Ariki Long. Moving on to Manon Firot and Jasmine Jasudavicius. Was that good or what? This is actually a good fight. I like this fight. And I know I've seen everyone picking Jazz Hands, Jasudavicius. I'm taking Firot. In her last fight with Shevchenko, I thought she showed very good grappling level, defensively and offensively. If you look at Jasudavicius' record, she's lost to girls like Tracy Cortez and Natalia Silva, who are now climbing the flyweight division. It just seems like Jasudavicius got some more favorable matchups against girls who couldn't grapple, really. And even though I don't think her competition has been that great to this point, she is dangerous on the ground. She is. And she's pretty strong. But I think Firot's pretty strong for women's flyweight as well. I like her style on the feet for WMMA, man. It's a good style. I think she's going to be able to pick her apart on the feet and land a lot of volume and damage. And I think as long as she makes this decisive round by round, I think I got Firot winning a 3-round decision. 29-28, 30-27. But if she leaves it close, it's in Canada. Jazz Hands is from Canada. Jasudavicius. They'll probably give it to her, nevertheless. But I also think Firot has sneaky power. And I think Jasudavicius is pretty good, but I think Firot's a very good WMMA flyweight as well. And I think she has the grappling chops to win this fight on the feet, as long as she doesn't engage too long with the grappling. I think she needs to be on her feet for this fight, for it to go her way, I think. But I think Feroz showed levels in that fight against Valentina Shevchenko. And I think that's going to play a huge factor into this fight. Because I don't think Jazz Division, her best win is Jessica Andrade, and Andrade is washed at this point. That butch. That butch a lady. Moving on to Marlon Chito Oliveira taking on Ayman Zahabi. I've thought about this one a lot. I'm going Chito Vera. I think he's going to come out angry in this fight. And I know Zahabi, he's very well-rounded. But I don't think he's a crazy good grappler. I think he's a good grappler. But I think why he won those grappling exchanges against Aldo is Aldo was just gassing, you know? And like when Aldo fought Vera a few years back, the reason Aldo won is because his pace was good enough to keep up with Vera. And I think the skill for Aldo has been there like his entire career, even leading up to his retirement. But his gas tank just got worse and worse. And I think Vera's going to push a pace and keep Zahabi on the back foot the entire time. And I think Zahabi's going to crumble to him. I don't think Zahabi is ready for a fight against a guy like Marlon Chito Vera. And I know he's coming off some losses, but I think Chito's going to get him. I really think Vera is not going to let Zahabi bully him in the grappling whatsoever. And I think he's going to beat Zahabi up. And I like a dominant decision or late third-round finish for Marlon Vera because I think Zahabi will do enough grappling-wise to possibly not get put out of there in the first two and maybe make it out to a decision. But I think Vera's going to beat this guy up. I don't think he's going to be able to handle the pressure. And Vera is still... He is in a better spot than Aldo it was before he retired, for sure, I think. Career-wise, shape-wise, give me Marlon Chito Vera to beat up Ayman Zahabi. I think he's just going to beat him up. I think Vera is going to be able to use his distance, and I think it won't be too hard for him to find his range, and I think he's going to beat Zahabi up. Moving on to the co-main event, Kevin Holland taking Mike Proper-Malott. Taking on Mike Proper-Malott. Used to be somewhat of a fan of Holland, but give me Mike Malott by 45-70, man. By 45-70. If you know, you know. No, but for real, give me Mike Malott. Kevin Holland recently lost to Daniel Rodriguez. That's absolutely putrid and disgusting, and he lost it in the clinch. He lost it in scrappy moments, and I think Mike Malott is a scrappy clinch grappler. And I think Mike Malott gets his way with Kevin Holland on the ground. But I also my mind wouldn't be blown if Kevin Holland goes out there and puts on a barn burner on the feet and starches him in the first or second round. But I think I'm just gonna lean towards Mike Malott though. I think his grappling is very good, and he's pretty stout as well. He kind of got that GSP style, you know. Give me Mike Malott by decision. This is such a tough fight to pick, man. You just never know what Kevin Holland you're going to get. But I'm pretty sure I know what Mike Malott I'm going to get. I think he's a guy who's not going to let what happened to him against Neil Magny happen again. And I mean that gas tank wise, not necessarily grappling wise, because I don't think Kevin Holland has any way of grappling like that with Mike Malott. So give me Mike Malott. By finish or decision? Give me Mike Malott by submission. Round one. I think Kevin Holland, I see it now. Kevin Holland's going to come out fast. He's going to be willing to roll and scramble with Malott, maybe tap him up on the feet a couple times. But I think maybe Malott slips in a nice check hook, wobbles Kevin, gets it to the ground, snatches up a sub. Mike Malott, first round submission for Gay Canada. Woo! Or Mumbai, as they call it now. Canada. They call it Mumbai or Delhi. Moving on to Reinier de Reeder and Brendan Allen. It was supposed to be my good friend Anthony Fluffy Hernandez taking on RDR this Saturday, but instead we have a former opponent of Fluffy Hernandez, Brendan Allen. The smartest man in the UFC, they call him. First off, I just want to say, Reinier de Ridder will win. Everyone's picking him, and he will win. But I think this will be closer, and I think Brendan Allen is going to scare a lot of us in some of these striking and grappling exchanges. But Brendan Allen, anytime he gets any advantage in a fight, he screws it up, and he cannot afford to do that against freaking Reinier de Ridder. And I think that's exactly what he's going to do. I mean, you watch him against Fluffy in those first 2 rounds, you're like, oh my gosh, Brendan Allen. And then he just does something stupid and gives up grappling position, or he's landing on the feet and shoots a takedown, gets stuff, ends up on bottom. You're just not, you can't fight like that against a guy like RDR. Brendan Allen, he has a couple of nifty little tricks on the feet, with some distant kicking and stuff. But Reinier de Ridder's a scrappy guy. He's going to get on the inside of Brendan Allen, and I think Brendan Allen will welcome it. And I think Reinier de Ridder is going to land some nasty, patented knees to the belly, boy. I think that's there all day. I think these grappling exchanges and scrambles are going to be very fun to watch. But I think Reinier de Ridder is much stronger, better gas tank, and I think he's going to get the better in the grappling, in the clinch, for sure. But I do think Brendan Allen could possibly get some really nice, goofy strikes going and give Reinier de Ridder some problems. But I like RDR to win this fight. I'm very confident in it. I'm going to take him by finish in the 4th round, TKO. I think Brendan Allen is going to get beat up to the body really bad, and I don't think he has the dog in him to continue like that. I don't think he's fundamentally enough sound to protect his body as well as his head in those clinch striking scenarios, and he's just gonna shell up, I think, a lot of those moments. I think Reinier de Ridder's just gonna tee off on that body with them knees, and he mixes up some decent shots, boxing shots to the body as well. So I like Reinier de Ridder. I think it's pretty clear cut and dry, but I do think Brendan Allen will scare you a few times in this fight and keep it kind of close, but I think Reinier de Ridder ends up getting the 4th round sub. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope you agree with the predictions. Comment below your predictions for this UFC Fight Night card this Saturday. And also, if you made it this far, I love you. If you watched this whole video, man, I love you, dude. Support me. Support me. You'll support me. Yeah. Please like and subscribe. Seen All MMA. I should have a video out tomorrow as well. If you have any interesting video ideas, if someone watches this video, drop a comment. I greatly appreciate it. If I ever hit 100 subscribers, I'll do a giveaway. It's not going to be anything crazy, but if I get 100 subscribers, I'll do a giveaway, all right? I'm going to... Oh, my gosh. Please like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. I didn't mean to yell. But I hope you guys enjoy this fight night this weekend as much as I will. God bless you. May God be with you. May God be with your family. I'll see you in the next one.